Okay, got it. Go ahead.
So they're still
Thank-
working. I'm gonna kind of fly through this first part because it's not the point of this. Got their goals here. They want to spend about $5,500 a month. All good, all great. So let's say you want to add an annuity that scales up, that is increasing payout factor. So we're working on an option of making this a lot easier. But in the meantime, what you can do is you hit this Add FIA button right down here, and you hit that, and I already have them here, so I'm gonna delete this one. But so you hit this. I just did 4. You could do more or you could do less. It's up to you. But the point is I I took the amount they want to contribute. So we're going to initially do $500,000. I broke it up into 4 payments. You do however many ladders you want to do. The more you do, the more accurate it'll be, but the more of a
Sam,
pain it is.
let
Yeah.
me interrupt. Let me interrupt. When you speak up, some people are saying they're having a hard time hearing
Oh
you.
yes, 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 yes.
Your
Move
volume
closer.
up.
Yeah. So we're gonna move over $500,000 because you have $1 million. So we'll do 50%, nice and easy. You can do as many ladders as you want to do, and a ladder is just each FIA. So one FIA is considered a ladder in this case. So I'm doing 4 right now. So I just took $500,000. I split it up into 4 equal ladders, and then I hit the little drop down, the little plus here, and that gives you these options to kind of customize the annuity. So you switch it, it's going to default to volatility buffer. You want to switch it to guaranteed income, and it's going to give you these options: years of deferral, index return, all this good stuff. If you're going to do a laddered annuity, you just want to make a couple different ladders. Scroll down here, and if you see, they're deferred to different years. So the first one is 4 years, and then I have 8 years, and then 12 years, and then 15 years. And you, how you get the annuities or the summary and cash flow to match your illustration is by messing with this payout factor here. So this payout factor is going to change how much cash flow they receive. So I'm going to save this and then calculate this, and I'll show you what happens.
Now, while we're doing that, what we want you to know is you can send us the illustration for the guaranteed income annuity, and then we'll help you match it to the roadmap so that we can get an accurate picture. Go. I'm sorry, Sam. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. So again, you get to this page, you go to future destination, 54 to 95%, amazing. And then you want to scroll down here. So to check out the FIA report, you're going to check next to summary cash flow. You're going to scroll down a little bit and hit this FIA report. And then what's going to happen is going to have these nice big boxes here with all the numbers. So which you're concerned about is this column here, the withdrawal column. And this is what the client is taking out in retirement. And the most common thing I see is people say, oh, well, this is the same thing. How does it doesn't go increase? And the reason why that is because this whole block here that you see this is your ladder number 1. So if you scroll down, here comes ladder number 2. And again, if you notice, we deferred these. So the first 8 years in this one, it's not paying out anything. And then year 8, it's paying 23K. So how you do this is you kind of look back and I like to use Excel. I'm an Excel nerd. So I'll go back and I'll put in what they're getting. So, year 8, they're getting 17, 8, 12. And then you go down here to year ladder number 2, add in to this year 8, 23, 750. So you add that together, and that's going to be their payout for the year. So if you have an annuity that's going to go up, going to increase the payout, you want to get this when you add these up to basically match your illustration. And then if you go down to your ladder number 3, you see it here. Again, it's not paying out in year 8 because we deferred it by 12 years. Yep, and this one 12 years. So this one doesn't pay out until year 12. And you essentially just keep doing that, and then you can tweak them. Let's say this is off, this year 12 is off, then we're going to want to go back. Again, use the back button. We want to adjust our annuity number 3 because that was our third ladder, and let's make it 20%. and we'll save that, and we'll calculate that.
Could you stop for a second?
Yeah.
We had a question. John was saying, can we do an immediate income and then deferred ladder? Can you show it? Pam, it would simply be you would be adding a fifth one, or one of the four would have a deferral of 0, and then the payout factor of whatever. We would need to know the parameters to be able to show it. We were
Yep.
just doing this to show you how to do it. And everybody, the point that also Sam is making is, don't go it alone. Now we have two of us, the better looking, the not so better looking. Guess which one's which? But my point being is that we can show you how to do it and work with you on how to do it, so the next time you can do it. Or, do me a favor, just not, hey, my appointment's at 9, it's 10 of 9, can you do this? That one, we're going to be like, really? But if you give us enough time, we can easily help you, show you, and get it done. We want you to have a great appointment with the client, and we will be more than happy, as so many of you know, we're more than happy to help you get it done. Someone asked, by the way, about sending a recording to a specific thing. Nancy, that was you. Nancy, do me a favor, anyone, if you want this is being recorded, just so you know, and it'll be sent to all of you. But if there's somewhere you want it specifically sent, just let us know. We'll take care of that. Anyway, Sam, sorry to interrupt. And Sam,
Yeah.
slow down just a
No, no worries.
Are you exhausting each annuity over how many years, and then you're going to the next annuity in the ladder?
So it's going to depend on the illustration. Let's say you have one that years 4 to 9 are pretty similar, but then there's a big increase in the payout factor in year 10. Then you kind of have to look at it and use what's most efficient. Technically, you could do a ladder for every year if you really wanted to. I don't advise that. It'll take a lot of time, but you can make it really accurate if you do that. But it's
I'm sorry, Sam, let me interrupt. The
yeah.
question was more along the lines of, are they exhausting? No, because they're guaranteed income
Oh,
annuity.
gotcha.
That amount will go on and on until well, forever, really. But
So
what we're doing is,
we're using the income rider payouts on the FIA.
right, that's why we're laddering it, so we can take into account the income rider. We will be adding, we're already working on this, so that it can be automatic. You can just put one line in and put in something that sufficiently addresses the income rider, or at least we are working on that. But for now, if it starts out and you defer it for 5 years and it starts out at $25,000 of guaranteed income, but in 10 years it's 30,000, and in 15 years it's 35. We can't illustrate that via just putting it in one time. So we're doing this ladder to show you how you can, bless you, whoever that was, how you can match the illustration and get that income as close to, if not spot on, to what your illustration has.
Yes, because if we do one annuity, it's just like, let's say we just do one. I'll get rid of all these. Let's say we do one annuity. And let's save this and calculate this. It's only going to have the same payout factor. So we hit plan results.
And speaking of which, somebody asked about payout factors. We will either use the company you're using, their payout factors, or we will align ours to get to the income that you're showing in the illustration. We just put these in to show you how to do it, not to be like, oh, this payout factor is with this company.
Yep.
So you understand that.
So
All
if
right.
if you see here, there's only one annuity here. Like the last one, there were 4 different annuities here because we had 4 separate ones. But here, there's only one annuity. This is all the same annuity. It's just year 15, 18, 20. But if you look on this withdrawal amount right here, this column, it's 17,812, and that is a fixed number. So if your annuity is increasing, you have to ladder this and do multiple ones, like we just showed. And that's going to do, you're going to add, basically going to add these up in each annuity block.
All right.
Does that make sense, guys?
RMDs on a qualified plan.
Sorry, what's that, Les?
RMDs on a qualified plan. Or a
That's
roll.
something that's different. And the
That's the
RMD will show in the output. So Sam, I'm going to take off remote
Yep,
support there.
no worries.
RMD will show when you are in the output, when you're looking at that fun screen. Now I'm going to share my screen actually. Sorry. When you are looking at the output, you have to be able to see my screen at this point, and you're on future destination. If you have anything tax deferred, as you
Yeah.
can see in the account summary, if you have anything in the tax deferred at age 72 or beyond, it'll account for an RMD less in everybody.
Okay.
All righty, so it'll do that automatically. Now I want to go through a workaround. Where is it when I need it? Okay, here it is. All righty. All right. A lot of you, this has happened over this, I don't know why this month has been this way, but it's just happened where people have a pension, but in so many cases, that pension is got a zero COLA. Going to stay that way forever. Now, we will be adding a third COLA for pensions, and that's coming this year. Yay, finally. In the meantime, that's great. It's coming. What do I do in the meantime? What you do is this. So you all see how they're working for a few more years, and then we got Social Security and the pension. But the pension has a zero COLA. What do we do? What you would do is you change the pension to, wait for it, Social Security. You make sure the tax rate is 100 because it's taxed at 100. And then you change Social Security to other and change that tax rate to 85%.
That's jacked.
Oh, come on, change already. That's not changing. I don't know why. I'm going to, maybe it's because it's got to be pension. Yeah. All right. Change it to pension or other, and then change the tax rate to 85%. And then you come down here and you simply make the Social Security. Yeah. English is a tough language, everyone. Make the Social Security COLA zero. Look, you're just seeing this. I get it. So when it actually happens and you're like, I need to do it, what do I do? Who are you going to call? And I swear to God, if someone says Ghostbusters, you're going to get hurt. Call Sam or me, all right? And we'll walk you through it. But basically, for now, and the good news is, by the end of the year, I cannot believe it's September 7th. Merry Christmas, everybody. I mean, crazy. I mean, literally, it felt like July 4th a day ago. That's how you would do that workaround, right? Some other changes that are coming. You add an account, and by the way, no matter which one of these you use, you'll notice that they all under account type have other. We are going to be adding something called a free form so that if you're choosing other, you can type in what it is. So you don't have to guess. Also on income, the one of them is other. Again, we will be adding a free form so you can type in what it is. So you don't have 14 different drop downs. We are considering, we're working on it, but it's easier to do the free form than to have the engineers put in all the drop downs. I'm not saying we're not going to do that, but there are other things that are coming that I think take a little precedence, such as I'm sure all of you will love to be able to simply copy this case and do it in a different way. I know I would, but right now you can't do that. You have to re-input all the information. Thumbs up to us for not thinking of this sooner. I know. I own it. I own it. But at the same time, what that to me is more important, where you can copy a case so you can change it or do something different and then do a side by side or delete one. So those things are coming. Having more drop downs, I'm not saying they won't come, but they're going to come later, hence the free form, just so you know. Taxes. Right now, and by the way, don't forget, tax rate means how much of whatever amount you put here is taxable. So if it's payroll, all of it is taxable. If you have a net number of something, you could put other. Yeah, remember freeform coming. And then annual or monthly, let's say it's rental income, and you are netting $4,000. Yeah, 40, I like that. $4,000 a month, but that's the net number. You then would put zero because it's net. None of it is taxable. But what is also coming when it comes to taxes, and remember, we are currently using 2023 tax tables, brackets, standard deduction. So again, when you put filing status here, get it right because it's using that standard deduction. If they're married and you put single, it's going to throw off the numbers. Subsequently, if you put married and they're single, that's going to throw off the numbers, but creative thinking there. But what is also coming, now I don't know if it'll be this year, so I don't want to promise something I'm not going to deliver on. You will have greater control of taxes. What do I mean by that? So we're using 2023. 2024 come January, we'll update it automatically to 2024 brackets, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, you don't have any control of it. You'll be able to say, fine, leave it be. It adds, it grows by 1.15% a year, but you'll be able to say, hey, in 2026, revert back to 2017. In 2030, use XYZ tax brackets. You'll have greater control. So you could show lower taxes or higher taxes or a combination. I'm reading the chat to see if I'm missing anything. Thanks, Sam, for keeping up with that. Other things that are coming. I already talked about there's a third COLA for pension. Okay, great. Future adjustments. Now, I've said this before. Right now, unfortunately, you can do let's say you've got something that's a pre-tax account. You can do a volatility buffer with it or a Roth conversion. Well, what if you want to do a Roth conversion into a volatility buffer? Can't, and I don't have really a workaround for it. You kind of have to pick and choose. What is coming, and I do honestly expect it by the end of the year, is where you can do a Roth IRA conversion into a volatility buffer using an FIA or RILA. So that is coming. Now, maybe you've heard me say it before, but look, we're in September 7th. December 31st isn't as far away as it used to be. So, it is definitely coming. I also appreciate all the feedback I get from all of you as to other things you would like to have happen. Another thing that we are going to be working on, I got to bring it up. Thank you. Is right now, I'm going to show you something that you could see. When you have this number here, it takes whatever you put in the goal section and adds it up. So if you say, hey, they're going to live on $10,000 a year for this year through 2027. And then in 2028 on, they're only going to live on or spend. See, I did it myself, live on. Goals of spending, right? I throw that in. But in 2028, their goals of total spending is going to be 5,000. Unfortunately, it adds it up to 15. We're already working on that, just so you know. But the other thing we're working on is taxes. This right here. Couple of things. Number one, we want to be able to have you see a 10, 20, and 30 year to show what the difference is, just like this is. And to review, let me make sure you all understand what this means. For those of you who have recently been in training, it's a quick refresher. So this is saying they've got a 65% predictability, probability of making it. I think I ran it to age 100 before they run out of money. But it also means I think they had 1.2 million. That it's the same returns on both sides. In 10 years, they got 1.5 million. 20 years, they got about 1.3 million. In 30 years, they got 400,000. But if they do what you're suggesting, in 10 years, they got 1.4 million, 100,000 less. In 20 years, they have 1.3 million, 40,000 more. And in 30 years, they got almost 1.1 million. And what the difference is. And then over the course of their life between now and age 100, it's showing that how much tax they would pay, and they would pay a little over 104,000 in taxes. Less, that is. Somebody's got stuff going on. If you could mute or invite us to dinner, whichever is better. Sounds like someone's cooking, and now I'm getting hungry. But also, we are starting to work on where you can push a button here, and all of this could be gone. So in other words, if you want to show it, you can. If you don't want to show it, click it'll be a little box or something, and it won't show. That, by the way, was courtesy of Matt Jackson. I don't know if he's on today. So we take your feedback a lot of seriously. What did I order from DoorDash? It wasn't for me. Darian Sussman's daughter's here. She was hungry, so I ordered her some food. Aren't I a great guy? Come on. Of course, I used his credit cards. But anyway, no, she was hungry. And, for those fathers and grandfathers, kids are hungry, you got to eat, right? Anyway, I'm going through. Continuing on. I want to remind you something else. Very, very important. For current destination, you always want to look at summary cash flow. Don't forget this. I can't tell you how many times I see this with various producers where I go through it and I point it out and they go, yeah, forgot about that. Don't. Remember, this shows, yeah, they got 1.2 million. They got 100,000 coming in. They're working. They got outflows. What's outflows again, everybody? Just two things. It's spending and taxes. That's it. So it's showing that they've got about just under 81,000 between their spending and taxes. That means they've got 19,114 of excess that's already been taxed and they're not spending. I love hearing my own echo. I've always said this. What I love about the software, many things, but one thing I love is how this helps tee up sales without you having to sell anything. So not just here, but in current destination under the summary cash flow, seeing that over the next several years, they've got almost $20,000 a year excess. Heck, even if that's off by half, as I've said before, many of you have heard, you've got $9,000 to $10,000 to work with. There's a potential sale for you. And you didn't have to, you probably don't have to convince for it. The other thing I want to reiterate, and for those of you who have recently been through training, sorry you're hearing it again, but maybe it's a good thing. Once again, goals is spending. That's great. So if goals is spending, now goals is not income, said this, and goals is not expenses. When I say expenses, I mean bills like mortgage. Goals is total spending, which can include all the bills. And one thing I've said in all the training is if goals is spending, spend money. In other words, and I've used this exact one. It wasn't on this case. It was on a different one. And there's many of you, you'll recognize it. I did it again, Sam. I did monthly. And you didn't catch me. Shame on you. All right. Now, it wasn't on this case, and look at those numbers. But what that 15,000 was a producer was talking to a prospect. I think it was prospect, wasn't sure it was a client. Doesn't matter. And basically, they had mentioned in the conversation how they would love to be able, in spending, take they have 2 children, both married, and 4 grandchildren. So they got 8 people on a vacation once a year, and to also at the holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, which is coming up very shortly, right? Have them all come in, pay for the hotels, pay for the rental cars, whatever they need, so they don't have to pay for it, the airplane tickets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That would be really something. They happen to mention he caught it. and he put it in here. Come on. Now this isn't reflecting it. In the one he did, it was like 68 to 94, 68 current, 94 future. And when he told them it was their spending, plus he included $15,000 a year of spending for like about 10 years. Because when they were 80, 81, they were like, that's it, we're done with that. They were all in. There was no, he told me there was no discussion after this. They were done. They were so thrilled. They just, at that point, they had bought in, but they really bought in because he personalized it. I implore and challenge. Ooh, I just came up with that one too. I challenge all of you. You will win. I'll have to think about something there. But, to really, in all seriousness, these are as good as the jokes get. I apologize. But I challenge all of you to really dig and listen to what the client or prospect is saying, specifically along the lines of spending, so you can incorporate it in here. Because this is a way for you to personalize this plan for them. When you can, everybody's got something. Many of you who've gotten or at least some of you have gotten to know me know I love model trains. As if you didn't know I was a geek. 2 years old, grandmother bought me my first set, been hooked ever since. Would love to get I can't believe I just used the words grandchildren. I have 4 grandchildren, even though one's only 2 months old. Love them to death. They're the best. But to buy just an okay train set, it's like $400. Crazy. Well, find out. I mean, yeah, golf. Yeah, travel. Those are the typical ones. But if you can dig and find something that really speaks to that person and put it in here for spending, does it mean they'll say yes? No, but you're increasing your probability of getting what I call the P&G, my promise and guarantee, not Procter and Gamble, in which you'll get to this page and they'll say, what do we have to do? What's the next step? Because you've truly made it their own. Do you suggest? Sam answered he would ask explaining an FIA and if you prepare. Yeah, I agree with what Sam. Absolutely. The question Jonathan asked: do you suggest explaining an FIA or IOL to your client before your roadmap presentation or after? I would say generally, after. But then again, to be fair, you'll know them better than obviously we will. And the conversation goes, if it's a free-form conversation, where it goes. The nice thing about this software is it's pretty much at the 10,000-foot level. It's trying to talk about, when you go through the presentation, it talks about a volatility buffer. It talks about reducing taxes via Roth conversion. It talks about, as close to a product, a lifetime income annuity, so you don't run out of money. It talks about those things, but it doesn't talk about a specific product. And the whole also point of presentation is you get here where you hopefully see, let me take this off so it's better numbers. You see better numbers so that they say to you, what do I have to do? And therefore, that's where you go to the execution with an FIA, an IUL, whole life, whatever you're using, or whatever you're doing for a Roth conversion as well. So I would generally say after, but your call. Any other questions? That's okay, cool. What else we got? Anything in the chat box? Michael, it could be rich, but it depends on the company. Like Midland just came out with a 10-year surrender one, which it gets a 10% bonus for 7 years. So any deposits you make in the first 7 years get a 7% bonus. But what a shocker, got a lower rate. So it depends on the company, but if you use their BIA on a product that I think is a year older, they've got very high or higher generally payout factors. Possibly because they go direct to the producer, such as yourself. So we try and keep abreast, at least a little of annuity and what's going on, it's tough that there's so many out there. But if you have one and you're having a tough time, as we've said, trying to get it in there and match it up, let us know. We'll be more than happy to help. Used to go through to drive the probability. James, good question. How many scenarios does the Monte Carlo go through? Goes through 1,000 scenarios a year and overall. And, you know, it's funny, this came up today. It doesn't go through a million calculations. It does do 1,000 a year when I've spoken to our engineers. So if somebody's doing it for over 35 years, then technically it's actually done 35,000 calculations. But we decided, well, what would happen? Do we do 1,500? What about 2,000? What about 2,500? And when we did that, we found it didn't move the needle. It didn't really change anything. If we said 2,000 or 2,500, it was only for bragging rights. So we kept it at 1,000.
Yeah, and,
You know,
Scott, it kind of goes into the law of large numbers. If you guys, anyone studies statistics here, but yeah, once you get to high numbers like that, adding more simulations, I mean, it doesn't really do much.
no free, yeah, and that's for sure. No free lunch. All right. Sam, was there anything else we wanted to go through while we were here? Was there
You know,
anything else that's come up?
I would say as well, if you have a client, let's say you have a client like this, 92%, and you want to make it look a little better, you know, Tom Magna, his approach is don't want to live just in case, and I agree. So if someone's 92% off the bat, I would go back and I would increase their spending. Everyone's got something, whether it's charity, they want to pay for a kid's college, they want to add an ADU to their house, they want to, you know, buy a new car, whatever, vacations,
My
whatever.
birthday's in November.
Yep,
Just
yep.
saying.
But you know, money's a tool, and that tool is used to buy experience. It's used to buy products, buy happiness in some cases. It can be used to be passed on. Talk about generational wealth, but you can always find stuff to do. Always find things to deploy money.
And like I said, goals of spending. So many of you have heard me say, spend money. If you want to show somebody, you know, I'm giving them their goal of, in this case, $8,500 a month in spending in retirement. But if you were also going to show, say, a long-term care premium, or as Sam said, maybe you want to do, you know, you know, like I told you, this is tough language. If you want to show them buying policies for their grandchildren, a gift of life type thing, you know, $500 each, you can put that in there. You know, take a step back. Spending doesn't have to be just their spending. You can put other things in as well and show what the predictability or probability is. Don't forget, the only thing you can, only two things you really can control here is how much spending anyone is doing and the amount of time. So maybe you've got it. Absolutely, Glenn. That was a good point. When you, for Sam, when you've got somebody, they're both going to age 100, you know, maybe you take it down to age 97. And of course, you know, remember, spending in time is like the seesaw on the playground. Hated the things, but it's a good point. The less you spend, the more time, the greater the, excuse me, the less you spend, the greater the predictability. The less time, the greater the predictability, or a combination of both. Now, that doesn't mean you take it down to 79 unless, you know they have serious issues. But can we add reverse mortgaging and others here? Absolutely, Joseph. It depends on how you want to add it, but you can. Most producers that do it, add it up here. So add account, non-qualified, other, again, we'll have that free form. And what they'll do is they'll put the amount in if they're taking it this year, and then where they're going to allocate it. But let's also say that you're going to do it, but you're not going to do it this year. You're going to do it in 2 years from now. So I'm going to do $1. And then what I'm going to do is, let's say they're going to get $200,000 and they're going to get it in 2 years. I'm just going to put 2025, $200,000. And that could be from a reverse mortgage. But here's something else. That could be an inheritance. That could also be a life insurance death benefit. Okay, let me let's take a step back on that one. If, unless you know someone's going to kill them, if you know they have a family member, let's say a parent, and you know the parent's health, maybe the parent's health is okay, but you kind of figure the parent is 85, you could put it in and say it's going to come in 10 years. You want to model it, you have to pick something. So let's say if they're in good health and they're 85, do it in 95, what you think that death benefit would be. So you can put future piles of money wherever the source is in here, and that's how you would do it. If it is something, now if it's life insurance, change it to tax-free, because it's going to be tax-free money to you. You don't want to be taxed on it. And you can put non-qualified too, because you're making it the cost basis. Interesting. I could add an IU. You could. Yeah, got to be careful with that, but yeah, you could. That's what's good about the software. It has a lot more flexibility than you think, and we're working to make it even more flexible. Not going to be a gymnast, but it'll be flexible. All right. Or you could, as an example, let's say you're going to get a reverse mortgage to keep with what Joseph asked, and you're going to annuitize it to an income. And let's say that income is going to be $20,000 a year. You could, I could get rid of this, change this back to Social Security. You could add the income as other, you'll freeform what it is, 20,000 a year, that will be taxable. And you say, hey, I'm starting it in 2028, and I'm going to get it for 10 years or forever or whatever. So you can model it in different ways. But the bottom line is, Joseph and everybody else, is you can model these things. You can even model life insurance cash value. And here's how you would do that. That account, this one you definitely want to be tax-free. Let's say they got 200,000 in cash. You could model it depending on where it is. You could 100% bonds, a combination, however. Now you could save it. But now what you can also do is you can come down to future adjustments, click add insurance, and then add it as part of the volatility buffer. And then put in the appropriate information here. Now, again, remember, we're doing this all right now in 2 days, a week, or 2 weeks, or whatever. 2 weeks, that's my Italian accent. You might say, oh, I don't remember. What did they do? Remember, you've got Sam's phone number and email. You got my phone number and email. Reach out. I've heard people say, yeah, I was working on it for 45 minutes. I couldn't figure it out. That drives me crazy. It really does. Because I don't want you to work on it for 45 minutes. Work on it for 4 to 5 minutes. If you're still having a problem, reach out. We can give you that time back, and we want to give you that time back. After all, it is your most precious commodity, right? Any other questions we can answer? Cool. All right, everyone.